Hey Sean, how's it going today?
Great. How are you, Tiff?
I'm doing good, thanks. Yeah, the week, maybe I see this in every weekly update, but the week flew by. It really did.
Yeah. I guess time flies when you're having fun or something like that.
I know, I guess so. And I'm really excited to get into the updates today. And I know you have some exciting updates around the docs, but it's been on my mind, as I'm sure yours as well, as of recent, is ChatGPT. And I'm really curious to hear, have you played around with it yet, or what are your thoughts on it?
I have played with Chat GPT only very in a limited quantity. I want to dig way more into it, and I've been reading more about OpenAI and all that, and I want to learn a lot more. However, I have definitely spent some time with AI in terms of writing. I'm really interested in how we can leverage AI for our writing, both technically, non-technically, etc. And so I got early access to the Notion AI feature, which I think a lot of people now have access to it. But I've used that to write at least two blog posts on my personal site over the last couple of weeks, and noticed that it's not. I can't just say, "Give me a blog post about this thing," especially when it's a technical thing, but that it's way more about guiding the system. And so as I had there was one post where I basically already had the outline and said, okay, here's what this section is about. Give me a couple paragraphs. And I bet you it probably cut my writing time in half or so. It was amazing. So I'm I feel like there's something there. I'm going to continue to use it. But GPT, not specifically. What about you?
No, that's interesting. I hadn't used it. I kept on hearing about it and I finally signed up for it, but I didn't really use it. So I was like, I don't know what this is going to help me with. And then because I'm not a huge writer, and when I do, it's more a bullet point for like scripts and things like that. And then I was working on a project, and it was in Python, and it was just a side kind of project, very small, but I kept on running into and I was using a different tool with my project, and I kept on running into this error. And I was searching, and it's one of those things where you're going to get there. It just takes that debugging process time, right? And I don't know
Mhm.
why, but it just popped in my head. I'm like, this is a great opportunity to try ChatGPT. So I was like, you know what? I was so skeptical. There's no way this is actually going to solve my problem for me. But I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna. So I literally copied the file that I had written and pasted it into ChatGPT. And I said, and then I pasted in the error and I said, solve this error for me. And within seconds, it solved the error in one way possible. And it was
What?
really one of those moments that I was just like, this could be pretty powerful. This is really interesting. And it saved me a ton of time. Now, granted, maybe it wasn't the best solution, but it provided one, which is still really interesting.
Right. So I mean, that is amazing. I think it's like where we are today. You still people are seem to be really scared of, hey, this is going to take over. I'm going to lose my job, and it's like, well, but it doesn't have actual experiences. It can help and it can give you one solution, but you still have to know if that's the right solution, right?
Exactly. And like you said, you really have to guide it. It's not as simple as from my experience anyways, which is very limited, but it's not as simple from my understanding as just you still have to share with it the code and what you want to achieve. And there's still and yeah, it still has a long way to go, but it's a very interesting and fun tool to play around with.
Yes, very cool. Okay, I'm going to get more into Chat GPT for sure.
Perfect. Okay, keep me posted. But in the meantime, I'd love to hear about some updates on the docs that you've been working on.
Fantastic. Okay, I will. Let's get my screen up here, and then let's walk us through. Okay, so I am on the concepts guides landing page right now, and we had just earlier today released a big update to the doc. So the entire concepts guide. I'm having trouble saying this today.
Mhm.
Was basically completely rewritten, and one of our most popular pages in the docs is this "How Stackbit Works" page, and this page was very informative previously, but there was something like 2,500 words on it, and it was jam packed. And as you can see on the right, there's still tons and tons of content in here, but it's really much smaller, concise sections, and nothing is really diving too deep in any one particular section. So we're really just brushing the surface and then providing an outlet everywhere. So we can kind of take the journey. And I think this is going, or I should say, take the journey and then dive in to any particular topic if folks want to learn more. And I think what this is going to lead to is just a better understanding of how Stackbit works. And so if you were either intimidated by the previous docs or you just haven't dived in too much, I say check this out because it might be a little bit easier to navigate now, and then you can really dig into the details where it makes sense. And then all the other pages that we have added to the concepts guide really are just kind of reworking a lot of the content, but trying to put it in a format that's easier to understand and a way that's easier to find. As a result, what we were finding was that we had started to write feature guides, but that the feature guides and the concepts guides seem to have a lot of overlap. And so we are, as best as we can today, drawing this line between what is a concept and what is a feature. And so the concepts are really talking about how things work and what are the practices that you either have to put in place in your code or that you need to understand to be able to work with Stackbit, or just really to help you write better code. And so they're going to, these concept guides are going to be much more conceptual, whereas the feature guides, which they were already in place, but we've added a few and revised those that are there. And these feature guides are basically going to teach you not how something works, but how to work with something. And of course, there's still going to be a little bit of overlap, but we've added a number of new guides. And so now we have a guide on page editing. We've recently updated the content presets guide. And we'll see this evolve as we add more features and we think about how we need to organize this. But now it's very clear that you can see at least some subset of the features documented here, and kind of get more of an introduction in how to work with that feature. So concepts guides are how does the thing work, and then feature guides are how to work with that thing. And then of course we have technical references and other guides so that you can dig into very specific problems or very specific APIs. So that's a big update for our docs. I'm excited to get it out there. And now we can continue to iterate on that. And as always, please provide feedback as you work through the docs, because it's the users that really help drive the priority of what we do to this site.
That's great. And I just want to say congrats on this update because I know you've been working really hard on it and it's looking awesome. I really love how you sectioned out each of the features. It makes it so, just looking at it, it just makes it very user friendly and like you can navigate it very, very easily. So thank you for all your awesome work on that.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it. I'm excited. It was a long time coming for this one, for sure.
For sure. And then too, for anyone who has suggestions or feedback or anything like that, as always, you can always leave it in our Discord, which I always link in the description of these videos. Sean and I are both on there every day, active. So you can always tag us as well.
Absolutely. And what do you have for us this week, Tiff?
Perfect. On my end, I just actually finished the data webinar. So I'll also link that down below because by the time this update goes up, the data webinar will be live to view as well if you miss that. And we also have some other upcoming webinars, which I'm really looking forward to. The first one being on January 31st. So 2 weeks away. Time is going too fast. And that is with Contentstack. So I'm really looking forward to that one. I don't have too much more details to share at the moment with that, but I just wanted to share that date as a placeholder for anyone who is either using Contentstack or curious about how Stackbit and Contentstack can work together. And also too, that week on February 2nd, we have a collaboration with Retool. And this has been really fun. I've been working with the developer advocates at Retool, and we're essentially going to be doing a webinar on how to work more efficiently and be more productive with less code. Now, not saying what is the word? Less code in reference to how can we be more efficient with our code. So that's something we're working on in the background as well. And similar to Content Stack, I just wanted to share that with you for this update to have a placeholder on your calendars. And then in next week's update, I will have more concrete information about it.
Very cool. Have you used Retool before?
I haven't, but I've been since speaking to the developer advocates at Retool and starting to learn more about it. It is such a it's very interesting, and I feel like I've just at this point touched the surface because it's very yeah, it's very interesting. Have you used it before?
I haven't, but I've same thing. I've been reading more and more about it. I've heard about it maybe a year or more ago, and it seemed like when I first heard about it, I was like, "Oh, this is like drag and drop it and clicky. This isn't developer things. I don't want to do this." And I went back to it recently. I think I saw a video that was really selling it well because it was saying, "Yeah, but those things that you want to do are distracting you from the things that you should do."
Yeah,
And actually have a there's a project I'm working on where I feel like Retool is the perfect use case for this, where there's a dynamic application that users will log into and interact with the data, and then there's an admin side of the things where someone needs to add they need to add files and they need to manipulate the data that the users can consume. It's like a website, but it's a little bit more dynamic, a little more app like. And I'm like, previously I would either build one really big app or I would have built two apps, one for that admin side. And now I'm thinking I can focus the time on the user side of things um, and then let the admin just use Retool to adjust the content in the database. So to be determined, but it feels like we're going to at least pilot this for this project and see how it goes.
that's great. I love that. That's a great use case as well. And I don't know, it's one of those things where now that I'm familiar with Retool, I see it popping up everywhere. But I'm not certain if that's because I'm just aware of it now or if it actually is starting to pop up everywhere. But it's going to be really interesting. So I'm excited to dive into that. Speaking of building and learning, we have released a new Learning in Public, and you and I did this earlier on this week where we are setting up a Next.js and Contentful project. So this is even before we get to the point of adding in Stackbit, and it's really the first step of the Next.js and Contentful documentation. So I'll link that video down below, and this is just one example of one way you can set up a project not only with Contentful, but also to just wanting to give more context into the project we are using for a lot of these demos leading up to Stackbit.
That's great. Yes. Yes.
Perfect. Well, Sean, those are all the updates on my end as well. This has been a great catch up. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. And looking forward to the next one.
Talk soon. Bye.
All right. Bye, Tip.